Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Aldas and today I'm going to be talking about Nico Hulkenberg. Now of course 2019 will potentially be his final season in Formula 1 after he was dropped by Renault, and in this video I'm kind of going to be talking about his 2019 season, also taking a look back at his career, what he's achieved, and asking the question, did he deserve to go and does he deserve a chance to get back into Formula 1 in the future as well? And I am very much looking forward to seeing what you guys think in the comments below. Now guys, don't forget, if you do enjoy the content on my channel and want to see more, don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and check out my social medias. Instagram and Twitter will be above. But guys, let's get into it. Now, I must admit, to me it seems quite strange that a driver of Nico Hulkenberg's calibre, we know how good he is, of course finished best of the rest last year, it still seems quite strange to me that he is not going to be in Formula 1 in 2020. Now, of course this came after Renault announced back in August that they would replace Nico with Esteban Ocon to partner Daniel Ricciardo for 2020. And the way the driver market kind of unravelled this year, it's almost a chain effect from what happened last year, because if you remember, Renault last year initially, after they kind of dropped Carlos Sainz and he went to McLaren, they actually wanted to sign Esteban Ocon with Nico Hulkenberg for 2019, but of course after they got the massive signing that was Daniel Ricciardo, that left Esteban Ocon with no seat, after also his seat at the time at the Racing Point / Force India team, that also got tied up with Lance Stroll. So it was all very crazy in 2018, and it also had of course a knock-on effect for 2019 because Renault were always interested in Esteban Ocon. As I said, since last year they always kept an eye on him, and when he did become available, because of course Mercedes then signed on Valtteri Bottas and Esteban Ocon kind of lost that seat, Renault pounced and jumped to sign Esteban Ocon straight away to partner Daniel for 2020. Now, as I kind of mentioned, it was a big surprise to me that Nico Hulkenberg obviously got dropped by Renault and that he's not going to be in Formula 1 and that he hasn't been able to find a seat. I mean, in terms of Renault, I totally understand why they went with Esteban Ocon. He's young, 10 years younger than Nico Hulkenberg, so he certainly has that on his side. He is very quick, no doubt. Whether he's as quick or quicker than Nico Hulkenberg, that still remains to be seen in my opinion. But again, it's the long-term potential with Esteban Ocon, so I don't blame Renault from that point of view. And as far as Nico Hulkenberg, I don't think he's had the best of seasons, but I also don't really think he's had the worst. I think a lot of people have really kind of been a bit harsh on Nico Hulkenberg. Some people have said that he's one of the worst drivers in 2019, and I kind of have to disagree. It's been a very tricky year, both for him and for Renault. I mean, as far as the Renault team, let's be honest, it's been a frustrating year. It's been a really just underperforming year as well. I mean, they've had problems on track, off track, of course getting disqualified, getting caught up in a bit of legality issues. Then of course they've had problems with reliability and some performance issues as well, and it doesn't get helped by the fact that really the midfield has been unbelievably close. We've seen McLaren make massive gains, of course. We've seen Alfa Romeo also with Kimi Raikkonen and Giovinazzi as well a little bit. They've also jumped up and kind of got a little bit of consistency with Kimi and the experience there. Yes, the Haas boys have dropped off a little bit. Their car just isn't there. But then you get to Toro Rosso, who this year have scored 2 podiums, both with Kvyat and then Gasly as well. So it's definitely been a crazy year in the midfield, and it's definitely been a difficult one as well. Now, in terms of Nico in 2019, again, I kind of want to reiterate, I don't think he's had a very bad season. Definitely the second part of the season has been, to be honest, quite fantastic. I mean, he did struggle in the first part of the season, but again, I think that's kind of due to the fact that the car just wasn't quite there. They did have some reliability issues, and yes, of course, his big opportunity where I kind of think he lost the seat and it was kind of done at that point was Germany. Yet again, he perhaps missed out another chance to get on the podium, and that was a really big opportunity for him. But in the second part of the season, ever since Belgium, he has actually finished in the points in every single race bar the Brazilian Grand Prix. He has scored points in every single race except from the Brazilian Grand Prix and then the Japanese Grand Prix, where of course both of the Renaults got disqualified. So he has been unbelievably consistent in this second part of the season when he hasn't got a seat. So it just shows the caliber of driver that Nico Hulkenberg is, and I was really surprised because sometimes his performances can go under the radar. He's not the best qualifier on the grid, there's no doubt about that, but on Sundays, his ability to control his pace, to manage the tyres, and to really just get the job done and score points, he is still one of the most consistent and one of the very best on the grid. So yes, due to a whole bunch of different factors, 2019 has just not worked out for Nico Hulkenberg, and it's very unfortunate when a driver has a bad start and loses a seat, but then after he doesn't have a seat, he really ends the season on a strong note but doesn't get a chance at another team. So it's just the way the grid has fallen. Of course, his options after the summer break were Alfa Romeo, Haas, Williams and Red Bull. Now, as far as Red Bull, that was always going to be a long shot. Alexander Albon impressed immediately as soon as he got in that car, and even Christian Horner said that really really, Nico Hulkenberg was never on their radar. As far as Alfa Romeo, really, I thought that would have been an amazing lineup. Can you imagine both Nico Hulkenberg and Kimi Raikkonen in that team for 2020? I mean, that would have been such an incredibly strong lineup. But of course, Gio ended up getting that seat, and I don't blame Alfa for signing Gio because he is, and again, another driver who's really improved and I think deserves another shot. As far as Haas, that was the really big surprise because I mean, I was stunned when they kept Romain Grosjean. I totally understood why they kept Kevin Magnussen, but I also made a video and said that I did think that Nico Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen perhaps would have been a little bit too hot to handle, but again, perhaps it would have been a risk worth to take with Nico being such a experienced and consistent driver. But again, I was shocked when they signed on Romain Grosjean, so he missed out on a seat there, and after that, basically all his options are exhausted because he has actually said himself that he doesn't want to go back to Williams, and if I was him, I would not really too. It's not the right place for him to go. Yes, he started his career there, but really, yeah, it's definitely not the right place for him to go. So in the end, of course, he has lost out a chance to be in Formula 1 for 2020, which once again was a really big surprise considering the caliber of driver that he is. So there's no getting away from the fact that as unbiased as I always try to be in my videos, I do have a soft spot for Nico Hulkenberg. I'm sorry, I put my hand up. He's just a really kind of cool guy. He's always been a quality driver. He's always been that ever since he started his career. And as far as his stats, I mean, he's done 178 races in Formula 1, of course, starting with Williams back in 2010. He has also had one pole position in his maiden season in 2010 in that Williams at the Brazilian Grand Prix. In those changeable conditions, he set a brilliant lap, and yeah, wow, what start to his career, and it was certainly a mark of good things to come in the future. He has had 511 points, 2 fastest laps, and of course, the big stat that he doesn't have, that everyone always talks about, the massive monkey on his back, he has never had a podium. And many of his contemporaries, I mean, Sergio Perez, Romain Grosjean, they all kind of started at similar times. Those two other drivers also are quality midfield drivers. Well, Romain Grosjean has arguably maybe dropped off a little bit, but those drivers also have a podium, and it's the one big monkey on Nico Hulkenberg's back that he does not have a podium. Of course, that is not due to the fact that he's never had the opportunity to be on the podium. There was the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2010, there was the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2012 when he actually led the race and then crashed into Lewis Hamilton. There was also the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in 2017 where he was running really high up, and if you remember, Lance Stroll of course was the guy to get that podium, but Nico was also perhaps within a chance there. And most recently, Germany in 2019, he was right up there. Again, it would have been difficult with the safety car because it was more luck than anything to get a podium, but he also crashed out in that last little sort of drag strip like many other drivers, and it was just so heartbreaking because it was yet again another opportunity missed by Nico Hulkenberg. So it's definitely been his fault that he has not got a podium. He has had plenty of opportunities, but other than that, he is, in my opinion, still been one of the very best and one of the most high quality drivers on the grid, especially on the Sunday. And guys, don't forget, he is a Le Mans winner in 2015. So this guy, despite the fact that he's never had a race win and he's never had a podium, he has always been one of the most reliable, consistent and dependable drivers in Formula 1. Now, the last thing I kind of want to say about Nico in terms of his Formula 1 career is that he never really got the chance at a top drive, at a team that can actually win races on multiple occasions, not just that one kind of odd race where maybe it was down to luck. And that is something that has always been kind of frustrating from my point of view. It's really been just a case of being at the right place at the wrong time. He almost had an opportunity to go to Ferrari for 2014 to partner up with Fernando Alonso, and what an opportunity that would have been. But of course, it was taken by Kimi Raikkonen, who left Lotus for Ferrari to partner Fernando for 2014. And again, it was a very frustrating time for Nico, I'm sure, because he always was building up to this massive move, and we were all kind of looking forward to it. And I thought it would have been a brilliant partnership with Fernando. And I mean, you just never know how that would have turned out. If he would have developed that Ferrari as a driver, perhaps if Fernando still would have left, but he could have been up against Vettel for the 2017 and 2018 World Drivers title, or maybe even 2019. So you never know how his career would have been if he would have developed further and perhaps won races and even maybe won a title. You just never know. But having said all that, again, I think it's just the one thing that is almost a what if. What if he got a chance at a top drive like Sergio Perez did, even just for 1 year? What could he have achieved? But again, you have to be there at the top of your game, and you kind of do in Formula 1. Let's be honest, you have to have a bit of luck to get those drives, and perhaps it just wasn't his time. So what's in the future for Nico Hulkenberg? Does he have a future in Formula 1? And should he return? Should he be given a chance to return perhaps in 2021? Or has he had his time? Well, from my point of view, Again, there's a lot of bias because I'm a huge fan of Nico Hulkenberg, but I also do understand the fact that he's had his opportunity in Formula 1. He just wasn't quite good enough to be at those really big teams, perhaps. He never really seized the opportunity to get podiums. He always made little mistakes there and there. Don't get me wrong, he's a quality racing driver. I'm a big fan of his. He also has a Lithuanian girlfriend, which for some reason means something to me, being Lithuanian. But yeah, looking at everything, I think Nico has had his chance. It's hard for me to say because he's such a great character and such a great driver, but to me, he's had his chance in Formula 1. He's now got caught up in a really strange sort of gap where some of the younger drivers are kind of overtaking him in the midfield, the Daniel Ricciardos, and of course, Renault want to invest in youth with Esteban Ocon, and he's just not good enough to be up there in the Red Bulls, in the Ferraris, and perhaps his time has now come. But guys, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Does Nico Hulkenberg deserve another chance in Formula 1? Should he come back in 2021? He's already said that next year he's not interested in Formula E and he's not interested in DTM, and he also said that he has massive passion for racing in Formula 1 and that he's going to be disappointed to be watching the races from his TV and not from the cockpit of his car. So he clearly, like I said, has passion to come back into Formula 1. But guys, what do you think? Should he be given the chance in 2021? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway guys, there you go. That is my video on Nico Hulkenberg. Now, as I said before, it's going to be quite sad not having him on the grid next year. He is such a great and funny guy, a really good driver as well, of course, and I do hope that he finds somewhere to race because he is a very talented guy, there's no doubt about that, and apparently my doppelganger as well. A lot of people say I look like him if you follow me on Instagram, so yeah, go ahead over there as well. But yeah, anyway guys, there you go. That is my video on Nico Hulkenberg. I really hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, don't forget to drop a like, smash that subscribe button, and check out my social medias. Instagram and Twitter will be above. But guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.